Hello everyone, I'm here today to share some events of my youth that to this day still send shivers down my spine. As a kid, I was really anxious and scared of the dark, and well, I still am to this day. I guess I just got better at controlling myself. I was really scared of being in the absence of light. It terrified me and made me panic sometimes. Sometimes I would feel like something was right behind me or right in front of me. How could you even tell in the dark, right? My memories of this intense fear are mostly of when I went to bed or woke up at night. My room had 2 beds since my brother used to live here, and for me to be able to fall asleep, I'd have to ask my mom to lay on the other bed, so I had some company until I eventually fell asleep. Sometimes I'd wake up right as my mom was leaving, and I'd usually call her to stay a bit more. I would also ask my parents to leave the corridor light on. Of course, they would turn it off when they went to sleep, which was usually 1 to 2 hours after I went to sleep, so it gave me enough time to fall asleep. Although some days, I would have a tough time falling asleep, and when they turned the corridor light off, I'd go turn it back on after waiting for them to go to their room. And I know what you're thinking right now. Man, this guy really was a baby when he was younger. You may say that all you want, but if you were in my place, you'd do the same. Oh, and before I forget, these events happened until I was about 15 or 16. I am now 20 years old and haven't really had anything scary happen for quite a long time. But that doesn't mean I don't fear the complete darkness anymore. Or someone or something could just be riding right in front of you and you don't even know. It's making me start to shiver just by saying that. But anyway, going back to my past. This one time I woke up in the middle of the night and I felt something. Like someone was standing at the end of my bed. I couldn't see anything as my room was completely black. I quickly turned the lights on. Thankfully the light switch was right next to my bed to its left side, as was my door. When I turned the lights on, there was nothing. Relieved, I turned the lights back off after calming myself down for a couple seconds. After trying to fall asleep for a bit, I felt it again. That weird, creepy presence at the end of my bed. I was feeling it again, like it was going to grab my feet at any second. I quickly turned the lights back on, and nothing. This time though, I left the lights on and eventually fell asleep. This would happen every other night. I'd feel a similar presence around my bed, usually at the end of the bed. I'd turn the lights on and there would be nothing there, just like always. This weird feeling of me being haunted didn't just end with these weird presences while I was in bed. Weird things would also happen during the day. I would come home from school sometimes at lunchtime or around 4 to 5 p.m. and just stay in my room on my computer. I'd be alone until around 7:30 p.m. when my dad came home. While I was alone at home, I'd sometimes hear noises downstairs. It was usually chairs being moved. I would go downstairs to check, but the chairs of my dining room were in the same place as I saw them. I'd come to get used to these kind of noises and I wouldn't even go to check anymore. But there was one time where I heard one of the chairs being pulled aggressively. I went to check and nothing. Now I know what some of you must be thinking. Maybe it was my dog. And yeah, I did have a dog, but we never let him inside the house, so it couldn't have been him. Is anybody there? I would say in a slightly loud voice, and no response. I can't really tell you the difference in time of these events with much accuracy. All I can tell is that it could happen one day and then months could go past without it happening again. Or maybe the next day it'll happen again. It was just that inconsistent. So the last of these daytime events I can remember was one instead of hearing a chair being moved, I heard a pot or a pan being dropped on the stove in my kitchen. I was startled when I heard it, and I quickly went downstairs with a pocket knife in hand, but there was nothing. There wasn't even a goddamn thing on top of the stove. Once again, I eventually forgot about it and went on with my day. Up until now, these have just been mildly unsettling things that have happened, but nothing too bad, I'd say. At least compared to what I'm about to tell you next. This truly scarred me for a long time, and to this day, whenever I remember it, it just gives me cold chills down my spine. So, it had been a day like any other, and I was going to sleep. I laid down on my bed and turned off the lights, but I was starting to feel an intense presence. This time not at the end of my bed, but at the end of my corridor. I couldn't calm down like I did with the other times. I couldn't just wait to pass out and feel like I had done some other nights. This time it was different, like nothing I'd ever felt before. I turned the lights on and sat on my bed in a fetal position. Something was at the end of the corridor. I could feel it. Somehow I just knew it, like it was a sixth sense. Like my deepest fears were all conjuring at the end of the corridor into an unknown entity. I didn't dare to even look, and I quickly closed my bedroom door. I sat there on my bed, trembling, crying. Then it felt like it was giving me a warning, like a "oh, I'm going to burst through your door and kill you" kind of warning. I then started to have these weird visions of it running down my corridor and bursting through the door. I started to panic and cry louder. My body was shaking, and I was feeling this primal fear take over my whole mind and body. It's like I knew I was going to die. After being in absolute terror for what felt like forever, I heard my sister call me. She slept in the room next to mine. "What's wrong?" she said from her room. I couldn't even say a word. After a few more seconds, she then told me to come to her room and come sleep with her. I immediately left my room in a panic and entered a room full of tears and still whimpering. I then managed to fall asleep as I didn't feel any kind of presence anymore. I'm really glad that I don't experience these kind of things anymore, although every now and then I feel a bit scared when laying on my bed ready to go to sleep, and I think to myself, if that presence, that something is going to show itself again. It could be today, tomorrow. I'm just going to hope it never happens again.